Okay, so today on Lunch and Learn, we have a special guest, and I'm actually really excited about this. Stephen and I have had a couple conversations about the things he does, and currently he's working on a project with the Shrewsbury Agricultural Education and Arts Foundation, SAGE, right? Did I get that right, Steve?
Yes, that's correct.
You're also connected with the Vermont Food and Farm Center. Is that correct as well?
Vermont Farmers Food Center. Yes, I
Vermont
also work with the
Farmers Food
education
Center. There we go. And
program
so
there.
Stephen is here today to share about his farm to school distance learning program and other things that he does that might be of interest to teachers to start thinking about. So I'm going to hand the reins over to Stephen, and you can get started.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me to come and share some of our resources. We, like many of you, have been working with the challenge of trying to continue to, be able to reach folks, engage with folks in education during these kind of distance times, social distance times. It's challenging with our farm to school work because we don't have those school programs, but we do have a lot of folks at home with the maybe space to do some kind of farm and garden project, and maybe the desire to get outside and do that kind of, project as well. And it seems like we're having a moment where people are really interested in local food and providing some of their own food as well. So there's some, pretty good opportunity with that. And we also are totally new to trying to do something that's very hands-on, typically to try and do it online or virtually. And yeah, so we've started, to explain that a little bit more, of what roles that I have here. I work with SAGE kind of primarily, the Shrewsbury Agricultural Education and Arts Foundation, where we work really closely. We're kind of the close farm to school partner with Shrewsbury Mountain School. We had been doing Harvest of the Month cooking programs with them in the school. We were going to be working on farm and garden classes and workshops with them through the spring. And then we were going to be maintaining and caring for the garden and offering summer workshops through the summer. But that kind of all got put on hold. So we've kind of moved that to let's do virtual farm tours. So with SAGE, we're doing virtual farm tours because I'm here in Shrewsbury living on a farm, kind of quarantined with farmers. So it made it kind of an easy thing for us to capture some of that on the farm, just little stories that kind of hit pieces of what's going on right now in farming in Vermont. So at this point, pretty much everything is happening in greenhouses. So that's what we've been focusing on. And as the growing season progresses, we're going to get into transplanting out into the fields and that sort of thing. So with SAGE, and I'm going to put the links in the chat on this, and I'm sure Erica can share them as well, but to our YouTube pages here. With SAGE, we're kind of focusing on like farms and farming. Now, the other hat that I wear is with the Vermont Farmers Food Center and our education, because we all love acronyms. So our education program with VFFC, the Vermont Farmers Food Center, is FABLE. And FABLE is our acronym that means farm-based experiential learning. So we run some programs with VFFC and FABLE with the Rutland City Public Schools. We've got that big greenhouse behind the VFFC. VFFC is where the Winter Farmers Market in Rutland is held. So we run school programs in that greenhouse, and we were going to be transitioning to more school programs on site in school gardens, and kind of a mix of those two things as well. We'd start plants in the greenhouse with the kids, and then we would be planting in school gardens, and then we were going to hope to be able to maintain and run programs through the summer at school gardens. So with that, my colleague Melinda, who's the education coordinator for VFFC, she's doing just pretty quick, some of these they're all of our videos are kind of like within that 2 to 5, 6 minute range. Melinda has been doing videos that are very like at home, do it yourself activities and projects like that. So she's got more things about like making a kitchen scrap garden at home, about cutting up a potato into the potato eyes and planting those, an arts and crafts piece on making paper mache little pots so you have something to pot or seed into, doing these projects at home. So Melinda's doing a lot of like things that parents and kids can do at home and kind of follow along with her. She's also doing a little bit of check-in on what's going on in the greenhouse that our previous programs planted in the greenhouse. So kind of trying to connect them back to the work that they were connected into when they started the project. But yeah, so those are kind of the two different sort of types of channels we have here with these two YouTube channels. One's kind of more do-it-yourself at-home activities. The other is like trying to connect you into, really a field trip, a virtual field trip of a farm with the Sage videos. And both of these, we're trying to, what I could actually ask of you, if folks are willing to share a bit with me and maybe through Erica later, and she could get this feedback to me. We are trying to figure out how to get better engagement with the students, with the learners. And one, kind of challenge with YouTube is when you make videos for children, they shut the comments off on those videos, which is for safety reasons, totally understandable, but it makes it a challenge for us to have kind of a back and forth on that. So at this point, I've been kind of asking teachers, principals, folks that have been putting these videos out, if they can just collect and hopefully solicit questions from their students and send them to us. It makes it more relevant for us to come up with the next video where we can just answer some student questions and not just be thinking of all the stuff on a farm, that you could do a video on. So that kind of feedback is helpful. But if you have any ideas of how we could get better, back and forth, or if it would be useful for us to have like extra worksheets and things like that. And Melinda is sending out actually extra like worksheets and photos and PDFs and things with her videos when she links those to the school. So yeah, I guess that's my question back for you. I can stop talking now. And if anyone has questions for me, they can let me know.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, we're going to open the floor right now. So you can ask Stephen questions about the programming, how you can be involved, and maybe give him some feedback. And he is putting links to the YouTube channel in the chat box. And you're welcome to also, if you don't want to speak, you can also type in the chat box and we can read the question. I know I've watched your videos, Stephen, and I think they're really cute and really well produced, and they're short. And I'm wondering if we could try to like maybe show them one, because they're not very long, just so they have an idea of like what you were doing and what it looks like.
Yeah. Can I do that with, how do we do that? Can we
So
do
at the bottom, you see that bar, it kind of disappears on your Google Meets window. And if you don't see it when you hover your cursor at the bottom of your Google Meets window, just click on the Meets window and then it should appear. And to the right, it says Present Now. And then I feel like if you want to show a video, do Chrome tab. You say a Chrome tab. So unless you don't have Google Chrome open, that may not be an option, but
I don't have it open in Chrome currently.
because the sound quality is not always the best in the other ones. That's the only downfall.
Okay. Let's see.
We can try it. If you turn your volume all the way up, then we may be able to hear it through your device.
A window. Let me see. Which one's screen 2? Okay.
Yep. Looks like
Uh-oh.
it's the right screen. Yep.
Is that guy? We got a YouTube thing on here or what?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
That's it.
This is our Sage YouTube channel here. We have 3 videos on right now. I'm working on. Oh, Julie Flory's here. How's it going? We're working on our 4th video, and I'm going to start doing some different cooking videos as well. I'm going to do a series on dandelions. So I've already shot a dandelion fritters video of battering and frying up dandelions, and I'm going to do something with greens and with the roots as well.
Cool.
Coming up here pretty soon, but haven't gotten there yet. I don't know, Erica, did you have an idea of which video you thought we could start with here?
I do the first video, and then if we have time, I really like the follow-up that you got the questions from the kids, so they can have an idea of like how you're doing this and trying to be interactive.
How we developed here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if this works.
You may have to turn your volume on your device up all the way. That's good.
Oh, I got the closed caption on too.
Hello, welcome to a new video series put together by SAGE, Shrewsbury Agricultural Education and Arts Foundation. My name is Stephen. We're going to be visiting some farms and learning about what farmers are doing here in Shrewsbury.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm Scott. This is Remy. That's Carrots. And this is Ella.
And our family runs a farm called Alchemy Gardens. And we grow vegetables, and we also grow a lot of plants for home gardeners. Okay, so why do we grow vegetables on our farm? We grow vegetables because we all need food to eat. And we need that food so that we have energy. So the sky has so much energy, and the plants on our farm capture that energy. So some of those plants, we eat the leaves, like kale or spinach. Some of the plants, we eat the roots, like carrots or beets. And some of the plants, we eat the fruit, like a watermelon or a tomato. And when we eat that food, we have the energy basically from the sun and from those plants in our bodies. And that helps us to be able to do all the things we love to do, like running or dancing or jumping, or even just for our brains to work the way we need them to think through math problems and spelling and all those sorts of things.
It is chilly. Snow's flying here, April 17th in Shrewsbury. But luckily, it is nice and warm here in our greenhouse. So our season here, our growing season, is pretty short in Vermont. It's really only, we can have frosts as late as towards the end of May and as early as the beginning of September.
All right, I'm going to pause it there. Give you something.
And I just want to say on our end, it looks really kind of, the video looks choppy just because of the transmission through Google Meet. So I just want to make sure everyone knows it doesn't look like that on YouTube.
Okay.
It looks a lot better. And I know from my end, it was like, it looked kind of a robotic movements in a way.
Okay.
Yeah. So everybody should know it looks a lot better. It's not as choppy.
Yeah. We're dealing with Shrewsbury internet and Wi-Fi and all this kind of stuff. So
yeah, and then coming through YouTube, like coming through Google Meets, the video translation doesn't work very good in Google Meets at all. So
okay,
that's part of the issue.
All right. So I think that gives a pretty good example from that. From there, we went on to we had some a teacher in Shrewsbury Mountain School send us some questions. And we answered some of those in the follow-up videos here. So that was nice for us to get like more specific to what the kids were wondering about those. I'll go over here to our Vermont Farmers Food Center farm-based experiential learning page, which I put that link in the comments as well. And Melinda is at home with her 3 kids in her garden, and she's making more of these, as I mentioned, do-it-yourself kind of videos here. So I would just throw one of these up here as an example. Let's do that potato eyes one. As an example of what she's putting out.
I am Melinda, and I am here to talk to you today about potatoes. Most of you have probably had some interaction with a potato in your life, eaten it, at least looked at one. You can eat them in all sorts of ways: potato chips, potato french fries, mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, potato soup. I bet if you think hard, you can figure out a way that you like to eat potatoes. This is a potato that you just buy at a store, but the cool thing about potatoes is you can actually grow more potatoes from any old potato that you have right in your house. Let me show you how. So, this is a potato that I grew last year, and it's been stored down in my root cellar, and as you can see, it's starting to sprout. And the cool thing about potatoes is they're kind of like one big seed, but on a potato, you'll often see these little spots on them, and these are called potato eyes. And each eye can grow a whole new potato plant, which will then grow lots of potatoes.
Boom. All right, you get the idea. Yeah, so that's I shared those two sites there, Vermont Farmers Food Center and am I back here? And our Sage YouTube channels. We're going to keep putting videos on there, and I think they'll kind of keep the same sort of styles that they have, Linda, with a lot of these kind of activities and projects that you can do at home. And for us out in Shrewsbury, I'm going to try and get to some more farms, but to keep it sort of farm tour and as much around that as we can do. What's going on with the growers and all these little pieces that maybe students and adults haven't really thought of before. The little kind of considerations week to week along the way as the season goes on. So that's what I have to share right now.
So we have some time for some Q&A with Stephen. Does anybody have any questions regarding these videos, or maybe about, getting your students interested in gardening? I know there was a teacher that couldn't join today that was interested in joining, and she's going to watch the video later. But she did send me some questions. And she is Marisa Key-Faber. You guys might know her. She's a 5th grade teacher at Rutland Town School. And before COVID happened, she had this grand plan we were working on together of developing a garden at the school. And her students this year were going to, start, build the beds and start the planting. And then over the summer, she was going to kind of take care of it. And then the fall, her new incoming students would do all the harvesting, and her whole curriculum was going to be based around garden. And then COVID happened. So it's been a little off to the side right now. But, she's really new to gardening. She doesn't really, it's not something that she's done a lot on her own, I think. And she wanted to know about if you have any recommendations for any actionable beginning steps to start a garden at school.
Yeah, that's a big question. There are a lot of resources out there for that, and I can track some of that down and send that to you as well,
Yep.
Erica.
Yep.
It's a big challenge, and it's a big enough challenge that a lot of schools have created a playbook for that sort of thing.
Awesome.
Honestly, having buy-in from the school community or the parent-teacher organization is kind of right there at the top of that. Just one of the places that I'm sure all you know, and it's probably not just related to gardens, but one of the places where these things tend to fail is when there just isn't enough support to keep like a garden specifically properly maintained throughout the year, and a lot of that maintenance needs to happen in the summertime. So that can be a challenge. I think like creating connections with the summer programs at your school, or anyone that's kind of using the school grounds during the summer, is really key. And if you can do that, then I think, you can kind of stumble through the rest of it.
Yeah.
Here in Rutland, I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I would guess in other communities as well. I think there's a lot of opportunity for working, one, with the Vermont Farmers Food Center. We would love to work with more schools on this sort of thing, with school gardens and creating education resources at the school, with school gardens. But I think there's also ability to partner with the rec departments as well. I know like April Chaffee at the Rutland Rec Department, who works on the community gardens, amongst some other things, is willing and able to use some rec department resources for some of the kind of grounds pieces that you might need, or, getting some more soil in there, or that sort of thing. But yeah, those are, just figuring out what the resources are, and kind of some of those steps I think are important up front. And yeah, I'll share some resources out. There's a bunch of groups out there doing work like this. Kidsgardening.org up in Burlington does a lot of great stuff. They've got some good videos too, where they oftentimes are kind of doing a review of a particular garden related resource available in their videos. So that's good for educators to see as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. And a follow up to that would be, we don't have funding for this. And now with COVID, we will have less money than we probably would have. So I guess she was wanting to know if you knew of any like grant programs or things that might help her get some funding to start a garden.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Yeah,
okay.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge for everybody. I do know specifically, I think it's High Mowing Seeds, which is up in northern Vermont. They, I don't know if this is still open or not, but they were sending seeds to organizations that you could request seeds to be starting community gardens, school gardens, that sort of thing. So you could get your seeds through High Mowing. At the food center right now, the Vermont Farmers Food Center, Melinda is going in and maintaining plant starts in the greenhouse. The intention is to get them to kids somehow. So we may also have plants available for school gardens. I don't know if we fully know like where those are going, but we kind of started them to get them started, and we want them to get to folks primarily for education sort of reasons. So we could follow up on that too.
Awesome. These sound like really, I'm excited about this. I hope we start seeing more gardens and plants growing. And
I hope so. I think we're going to be, I think, dealing with some level of figuring out how to educate in a physically distanced sort of way. And I think, to me, having an education experience that can be out in the open air is probably going to be important. If you can have time to educate out in a garden, it seems you can space out further. You're out there. I mean, there's a lot of positives to it. Yeah. And
they say that, if you're going to get together in a group, you should, it's better to be outside than inside. It's just safer. Mm-hmm. So, if you can be outside with a group of students, that'd be really great.
And for folks that either haven't done gardening at home or haven't used it as an educational sort of channel, there are so many different types of curriculum that you can touch on in the garden. It doesn't have to be just plant biology, right? That's like kind of a really easy one to grasp onto. But actually, in our next video coming out from Sage, we're starting to talk a little bit more about the math that might be involved, right? So it's talking about the space that's in the greenhouse. Are we going to start all of our plants in these 20 by 20 trays and then pot them up? And if we pot them up, how many trays is that going to how much, table space are we going to need for that many trays, and just kind of thinking about managing resources through simple math. That's just one example of a different direction you can take it, but there's a lot of other stuff out there too. We're going to have a video touch on kind of like a global citizenship sort of piece as well, where either we'll be talking to, folks from the food bank and food access, or I'm trying to get into conversation with some of the Abenaki folks in southern Vermont to see if we can bring in a connection through there, because we've got fiddleheads and those sort of, maybe more traditional,
so great. Yeah.
Traditional foods that, there's just a lot of directions to go with food. And kids understand food. They eat food. They can
you can connect it to so many things. I love that. I love how you're integrating it with other subject matter, that it just doesn't have to be about earth sciences, but there's the math, and then there's the global citizenship piece. And, I know Marisa, she's not a science teacher. She's she is a global studies teacher and an ELA teacher, and she does a whole unit on the indigenous peoples population, and she was going to connect the garden to that unit. And it's just like, I really hope we can help her come to life with that, and find creative ways to make learning more authentic like this, and connecting it to real world application. Because I think that's where the power is, this is why I need to learn the math, because people use math in this way. So awesome. We're about out of time. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Stephen before we go? No?
And Erica can share my email. If anything comes up for folks, please feel free to reach out. And thank you all again for having me.
I really enjoyed it, Stephen. We have a garden in Proctor, so I might be calling you.
All right.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Stephen.
Bye.
Okay.